And we're live. Content provided at the event is for general information only and not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. Any performance referenced is historical and no guarantee of future results. All indices are unmanaged and may not be invested into directly. Any economic forecasts that have worked during the event may not develop as predicted, and there can be no guarantee that any strategy will be successful. These thoughts and opinions are those of Gimbal Financial and do not represent the views of LPL Financial. Securities are offered through LPL Financial, a member of FINRA and SIPC. An investment advice offered through Gimbal Financial, a registered investment advisor, and separate entity from LPL Financial.
I'm not sure if David Letterman has been canceled or not, and cancel culture, but one of the things I always loved about David Letterman was he would have his mom on. And do you remember that, Keith?
I do. She was funny. She's from India. She actually went to my church years ago. Oh, Dorothy, was that her name?
I don't know, but
I think she's a secretary at our church for a long time. That's pretty funny.
She's just sweet.
Yeah.
I loved her sweetness. And so I was talking with my mom and dad this morning, and my dad asked me a question about this show. Maybe we should have him on here someday. Well, but anyway, he said, do you guys wear makeup for your show?
I'm not gonna lie, I definitely do.
I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, it's not just for the show, it's for any day.
So anyway, greetings, everybody.
Good morning, happy Friday.
That would be good. I think we could have guests, Amanda. What do you think about having guests?
I'd love to have a guest. We've invited some people, I just haven't responded.
I'd love to have Ken Moore on here. I think all our viewers would love a word from Ken Moore. That would be an entertaining show. I don't know if we could get Ken to join us. It'd be really cool.
Oh yeah, now my mind's going. We could have a lot of fun. I mean, we're already having fun.
Yeah. Do you guys? Could you viewers let us know if you want some more entertaining personalities besides us? Because we can bring some really interesting people with a lot of experience to the show. So just a thought.
I like that idea.
Did I hear you say, Amanda, do we have anything on the COVID tracker this week or not?
No, it's interesting that you ask. This is the second week in a few weeks that we haven't had a COVID update in time for our show. Which tells me that there's either not enough information out there, this thing is slowing, or they might have compliance issues.
Or they might be on spring break.
That's right. So, yeah, I'm inclined to observe that it's more of we don't have as much information, or we can't fill up the page with as many pretty graphics because this thing's probably dying down, which is really encouraging to hear.
Dying down. Yeah. So yeah, it's interesting that we're.
Sorry, that was insensitive.
It's interesting we're bringing this up. Just again, talking to my folks today, and they're heading out to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway where they're going to get their COVID shot from the One Shot producer. I'd say the name, but that might be a stock recommendation. I do not want to do that. So they're doing the One Shot solution today, and my guess is that solution or the other solutions are coming to an age group near you very soon.
I noticed just before we came on the air, there was a headline out there that said seniors are quickly preparing to jump on planes. And that was an intriguing headline for two reasons. One is I've always wondered, and now more and more, what age do you become a senior? And then secondly,
if you have to wonder, you might be, oh, wait a second.
Thanks, Jeff. And then secondly, what would that look like? That to me says, we had asked the question a number of weeks ago, what's your fear factor level from 1 to 10? And then secondly, what would cause you to get back closer to a 1? And if the highest risk group of people are quickly trying to get on airplanes, it tells me probably the major answer for a lot of people is to get the vaccination. And if they're going to actually get on the airplanes, it tells me that it's not just a theoretical idea, but they're willing to put their self at risk, whatever that risk level is, to do what they want to do, which brings a smile to my soul. I just think people living is a huge deal.
Well, and, it's one thing to hear something, but you can follow the money and you can see it. And when we flip on the charts, I wrote down an airline index that I wanted to show you guys, just out of that thought alone that Keith's saying, is that more and more people are thinking opportunity ahead, and they're looking for ways to get out and explore and visit places, see relatives. And that's the best way to do that is jump on an airplane. So
I heard the phrase COVID fatigue the other day. And I think now that we've nearly approached the 1 year mark, I think everyone has felt COVID fatigue, and we are ready to jet set to anywhere,
Yeah. The symbol on that, it's a 0XAL. So one of the things about stock market's always trying to think in advance of what could happen and what risks are out there. And so when we look at this, when we look at the AMAX airline index, you can see it really ran up here recently. It pulled back in the last couple of days like everything else, but nevertheless, I mean, it has really been on a tear. And you follow the money with stuff, and it's interesting what you see, and groups of stocks reflect it. They're basically voting shares, and we talk a lot about volume, which is basically just how many shares are being traded that day. Are they buying? Are they selling? And the buyers that were coming into the basket of these airline stocks have just been pretty remarkable.
Yeah, it's a hard thing to anticipate the future. Like for us to, 20 years ago, to tell you that the internet's going to replace all these jobs. There won't be travel agents. There just won't be a lot of things. If we had said that 20 years ago, people would have thought we were crazy. But for some reason, like what you said, Doug, the market is a predicting force, and to see how it predicts things in the future is really fascinating to me. It never ceases to amaze me how it speaks volumes about what's really going on in the world out there.
So when you go to purchase those airline tickets, you're going to feel the effect of supply and demand. But the other index I was looking at that dances right along with the airlines, I think is very interesting. If you can show this one, Keith, it's a 0XOL. And this will show you oil. And oil has been really interesting to follow lately. It was just down in the dumps, I feel like forever. And, I would take calls from time to time and say, hey, why don't we look at this? Why don't we look at this company, this big, humongous oil stock? And it just was down in the tubes. And it would stay there, and it would stay there, and it would stay there. Eventually things change. And so when we're, talking about how to predict the future, you basically just do it by looking at the volume of stocks. Did that not pull it up, Keith?
No.
0XOL?
No.
Oh, I must have written down the wrong one. Sorry, everybody. I was hoping to show you, and it's not O, it's 0. That is a 0, right?
This one says, let's try 0XOI maybe.
Oh, maybe that's it.
0.
I think they say in radio you don't want any dead time.
Oh,
there it is. Yeah, I just need to go to my optometrist. But look at this. I mean, this is exciting. This chart.
It's not real exciting when I stopped and filled up my gas tank yesterday, but
hey, Caroline Shreve, she used the Kroger points, man. I had 40 cents off yesterday.
That is not a recommendation of a stock right there. That's just
no, that's where you should go get your gas.
And groceries, so.
But anyway, this stock has just been, or not stock, this index has just really been pointing up lately. I would have thought it would have capped off, but no, it just keeps on accelerating. And it will be interesting when you look at this and some other transportation companies or shipping companies or airline companies, the price of oil is going to affect the profits on them.
I had a quote in my notes today to throw out there just to kind of accentuate what you just said. It's the quote I read said, "Your objective is to agree 100% what is actually happening in the market rather than trying to tell it what you think it ought to be doing." So when Doug said he would have thought it would do something, our opinions don't really matter if the market is doing something opposite of our opinions. That's a really good way to lose money in investing, is if
well, you get your emotions wrapped up in it,
Yeah.
and wanting to be right, and then being wrong can be very detrimental to your portfolio.
Yeah, like if I just stretch this one we're looking at out over here,
Yeah.
This index was, let me get over here to the temporary line. And so it hit about 1700 right over here. And then right here where it actually hit it, that would mark the specific date when I chose to drive about 10,000 miles in a gas guzzling RV and paid about $5 a gallon. And then it tanked almost in half over here in 2015. And you could have been a bottom fisher thinking that was a good buy. And then it rallied back up to that level, or you might have doubled your money in that index if you could buy an index, which you cannot buy an index. And then this thing formed what a lot of old school people call a head and shoulders. It put a shoulder here, rallied up to a head, and got another shoulder. And you would have been tempted to buy it right around here at this 1078 level, and you would have just got smoked. It would have been a bad decision. So the market is always right, whether we feel like it or not, and it's our humility that allows us to agree that we made a bad decision.
And inside this index, I mean, there's some fantastic companies there, really great companies, good looking balance sheets, running clean, cash flow businesses, but the stocks haven't been any good. Yeah. And so you can have a great company that's innovative and trying to make change, but the stock might not be any good. And so there's times to buy and times to sell, but this idea that you can buy a company and hang on to it, some of those in that index, for 10, 15 years just haven't done anything.
Yes. Here's, let me share my screen again here. Here's an index of stocks that basically didn't do anything. I'm just drawing a line straight across there from 2006. Right here, they peaked out and never really crossed back over that threshold until 2020, right here. So you could have held your bank stocks for 15 years, 14, 15 years, and really had the fear of the financial crisis right here, thinking that maybe you're going to lose. There were a lot of banks that went out of business then. And so sometimes buy and hold works, but to buy and hold and hope, you could lose a lot of your wealth in those kind of things. And we've unfortunately seen clients over the years that cling to stocks that they just couldn't get their emotions out of the reality of what's going on. There were, particularly around 2000, there were a number of companies that went out of business, major companies. If you can think of WorldCom, right? WorldCom was a big company. It was owned by, it bought out MCI, which was one of the major telephone companies, and within a matter of months, they were gone, worth zero, and out of business. And so there is no safe place to invest money, no matter what anybody says. Every investment has a risk associated with it. I saw another quote this morning that I really liked. It said, this fellow who's been really successful said, "I made a decision a long time ago that I'm going to make mistakes. And so that when I made that decision that I'm going to make mistakes, then the follow through was when I make a mistake, I have to stop it as quickly as I do. Because if you thought you were right on that, what was it again? It was 0XOI?
Yes, 0XOI.
Yeah, so you could have, if we go to the weekly, you could have thought you were right here. And it gave you a week to realize you were wrong. Like you were literally down 10% in a week. And that would be a good chance to save your capital. And then within a couple weeks, that thing was down 80%.
Yeah.
And then it just, if you get caught in a situation like that, it becomes so emotional, you can't make a good decision. So to make the decision that I'm going to be right or wrong occasionally and correct it as fast as I can is just a wise investment principle, I think.
And that's something some of you may see if you're doing business with us already. I go ahead and type in this one, Keith. It's a 0DRG. Yeah, so here we go. This is the Amex Pharmaceutical Index. And as you can see, it's been coming off its highs. And so, these are in this index would be companies that you all know and do some business with. There's companies that we've been talking about that are represented here. Pharmaceuticals, financials, technology, those have all been like great sectors that we've looked at over the years, but they have, risk to them too. And so if we were to buy something and it not go the right way within a few days, we might be looking at trimming that back. Just admitting you're wrong and that you can go fishing another day is just a key principle to have. Take some of the emotion out.
Well, and when I got into business back, when the spirit of God was hovering over the dark in the beginning of creation, when I got into business, then there were actually commission-driven accounts.
Yeah.
And the people that we're doing advisory business for, there's no transaction charges. And so if we're making a transaction on your behalf, there's no ulterior motive like people suggested back in the commission days. And so we're incented to do the best that we can for our clients, no matter what is going on out there. If we make a mistake in it, it's not really making a mistake. If we're wrong, we need to admit we're wrong. And the mistake is not admitting we're wrong. And so I think that humility comes pretty regularly. I'm just amazed by this, Doug. Look at this thing.
Uh-huh.
This would be the FANG stocks of the 1990s. Look at this thing.
Tremendous. Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
And the FANG stocks, that's like Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, Google, right? Oh, shoot. I just named all those. I'm so sorry.
And that is not a recommendation. That is an educational piece right there.
Sorry. Oh, jeez.
What am I going to do? Anyway, this market from 1993 until 1998, if you owned one of these companies, and there's a major one here in Indianapolis, you looked like a rock star. No matter you could have been, you could have thought you were the smartest person ever. However, once you bought right here in this into 1998, look at this. It took until about 2013 to break even if you were this person right there that bought there. And so these things, and it dropped almost in half at one point and did it again over here. And so stocks are just risky. It is just.
And one of the things we hear about that is, I could have held on to those, but I would have collected the dividends the whole time. And I understand that's great because most of the time these dividends are paying more than your cash would in your portfolio. However, some of these stocks, that dividend's wonderful, but that price drop can really hurt your overall performance. And so hanging on just because there's a great dividend, not a great strategy.
Can I throw the I'm at the end of the baby boomers, the beginning of Gen Xers, and there's also part of the Gen Xers is some cynicism or skepticism. Can I throw some of that in there?
It depends.
There's some really good books about Charles Ponzi and how he made money. And a number of years ago, one of the people we mentioned earlier, Ken Moore, he had a big influence on my career and had great success in his career and had a lot of influence in Louisville, Kentucky. And I was just talking to him about some of the business things I saw going on and the regulatory things going on in the industry and some of the feudal rules that are out there. And we just started talking about CEOs of major corporations. And he said, it's almost like that one Jack Nicholson show. You don't want to know the truth.
Oh,
He basically said, you might want that CEO to run that business for you, Keith, but you probably wouldn't enjoy having dinner with him. And I was like, really? And so what a CEO and a CFO know is there's a lot of people that buy stock simply for the dividend, and they can legally pay out a dividend and deplete their capital. Like their cash reserves can be going out to pay you a dividend, and that's evident on the balance sheet. And a lot of people aren't trained to read balance sheets, and consequently your stock could hold up in value for a period of time while the corporation is literally depleting the capital, right? So they're returning your principal back to you.
It would be like the old days of 06, 07, when you could just borrow from your house and you could go on vacations and boats and jet skis and all kinds of stuff. And then all of a sudden your house value is down. It's like, oh no.
Yeah. Exactly.
And so that would be a very similar comparison.
Or even just like a reverse mortgage, you'll read about those things and they're very sketchy because you commit the capital that you have in your house to get monthly income off of that. At some point, the piper has to be paid. And so dividend stocks are reasonable to look at, but you have to look underneath the hood to know exactly what you're getting there.
Yeah. And we love a dividend stock story, and we love a dividend stock strategy. And so if that's something you're interested in, give us a call and we'd be happy to share with you what we're learning and what we know.
And if you have dividend paying stocks that you're clinging to because you think that that's a good idea,
definitely call us.
Yeah,
definitely
we'll
call
be happy
us.
to look under the hood for you and give you specific advice on that.
Yeah.
Because I've had, heartbreaking conversations with people who didn't pay attention with those sorts of stocks, and it can be pretty devastating. So we'd love to help you think through those decisions.
Could we look at one more? Or do you want to move on? I've got one more index.
Let's look at one more and then we'll call it a day. I've got a story I want to throw
Okay,
out there.
I could look at these indexes all day sometimes. Like here's one that's great. 0XAU. 0XAU.
Gold, baby.
Yep. So this is the gold and silver index. And I've been really intrigued by gold and silver for the past couple of years, mainly because they offer an investment or a risk that doesn't necessarily dance with the stock market lock and step. With gold and silver, there's no earnings, there's no sales, there's no innovative company, there's no genius to it, except it's just a thing. It's just a thing that people have said, okay, I can have peace of mind owning that at times. And so I wanted to highlight this index just to show you that nothing is smooth out there. Everything is speculative. No matter what type of investment you're looking at, it's speculative. And there's times to buy and times to sell. And so just not to fall in love with any of this stuff was the main reason I wanted to highlight this.
Yeah, and gold will have rallies and silver will have rallies. And there's just a temptation when people get anxious to want to buy gold or buy silver, and it may make sense, but if you get really anxious and you're wanting to wrap your finances around gold and silver, call us on that too, because that can be really psychologically put you in a really bad place. And we'd like to be encouragers of you as you manage your resources, because that's when these things, when people start hearing that panic and that anxiety, all of a sudden you start having gold and silver commercials on TV shows and news shows, and it just accentuates the anxiety that people have. So we want to be cheerleaders of yours as well on those sort of things. So
I wonder if there'll ever be a social media Amex index, because there was another stock this week that that did the same thing as so many others.
I wanted to brag a little bit if I can. I don't brag very much, but we had a dinner table conversation last night, and I was smiling so big and bragging so much. And somebody, it was your dad last week. He asked when we could wear our black socks with our shorts and stuff. And so I have a pair of green shorts.
Ooh, nice.
And
you got to hem them into pants.
Ooh. What do they call those?
Shorts.
Yeah. So I forgot what color shirt I was wearing. I think it was an orangish color shirt. And I sat down at the dinner. These are my shorts I put on after I go for a run and am in for the night. And so I had an orangish color shirt with the green shorts on the other night. And my kids called me an Easter egg because when we do Easter egg hunts, they mix match the plastic Easter eggs. And that's what they said I looked like. And so last night I came down with those same shorts on and a yellow shirt. And they were puzzled by that combination and they called me different names. And I said, no, I am a Dexter Brave today. And this has everything to do with March Madness. And I don't know if I've told you this story, Amanda.
You said you're a what?
Dexter Brave. You can go Google this, folks. And the Dexter Braves were a basketball powerhouse in Evansville in the early 1970s. And probably aren't any pictures out there, but
is this not a high school?
This is 6th, 7th, 8th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And we were a power source, and I think we ended up top 5 out of like 50 schools in Evansville one year, and so our basketball coach. He had a little attitude about him, a little edge. And so when I was telling him my Dexter Brave story last night, I said, of all the hundreds of thousands of hours I played basketball, this is my favorite basketball story. We had a Dexter Braves teammate game against the teachers of Dexter.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah, that's really cool.
And so you can imagine.
Caroline School does that.
Yeah, 7th and 8th graders against 30 and 40-year-olds who are still trying to prove how great they are.
Yeah.
And trash talking 30 or 40-year-olds. And this was the 1970s, right?
I love everything about that.
Yeah. And so our coach got a fast break and was out in front of the players. And he gets up for the layup and does a head fake. And the very quick player on our team flies over his head into the mat
at the end.
This is one of those.
Safety first.
Yeah, we should have been wearing helmets. He goes flying into it. The coach brings the ball down, puts the ball under his arm, looks over at the fans, makes a comment about him. And that coach, his name is Jack Watson. And Jack didn't realize that I was as fast as I was, but I was slow. I was really slow, like paint drying slow. But he took his time to square up and make his layup. And about that time, I came flying over and swatted the ball into the wall and gave him one of these. So that's my March Madness, the highlight of my whole career.
Wow.
Yeah, that was my, and Jack Watson.
So that's what it's like to be.
He has a lot of athleticism.
Jack Watson.
Must be genetic.
Turns out to be Amanda's uncle. How's that for a March Madness story?
I love the connections of Gimbal Financial. That's wonderful. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah. He was a powerhouse coach in Evansville.
Man,
he's a big deal. He's a pretty big deal.
That's my March. That's all I had to talk about.
I love that.
Last night, I couldn't help myself.
That's awesome. We've got so much to look forward to in March.
Yes,
I didn't even realize this is the first Friday in March. So it's going to be a great weekend and let's do it.
Hey, be ready for, have we announced our tax day special?
We have, but if you haven't gotten an email from me, check the Facebook and check your junk mail.
Forward to your friends. It's going to be a great time. Yeah.
April 15th. Make sure to RSVP. And if you don't, just show up too. That's cool as well. So
don't start any Whole30 diets in April.
No.
Hamburger time, baby.
Thanks, guys.
See you, Amanda. See you.
Bye.